Good morning, beloveds. You hear random bag noises? My cat decided to throw herself in a bag this morning. I like to keep a big handled bag around for clothing donations. As I'm going through my closet, I'm like, yeah, I'm not ever going to wear that again. I try and throw it in the bag. And I got a nice big one from the Container Store, and my cat just threw herself in it. She's happy. Ugh. She does not make sense. All right. Okay. It is January 10th. Our title is, I have a spiritual vision within me which beholds a perfect universe. And our quotes start with, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. And that is Revelations 1:8. The next one is, but verily thou art not able to behold me with these thine eyes. The divine eye I give unto thee. And that is from the Bhagavad Gita. And the last one is, there is but one Brahma, which is truth's self. It is from ignorance of that one that Godheads have been conceived to be diverse. And that is the Mahabharata. Mahabharata. Okay. Spirit is absolute. Spirit as absolute cause is the beginning and end of everything. If we place complete reliance upon this spirit as being the adequate cause, then we may as certainly place complete reliance upon it as producing the desired effect. When we give a spiritual mind treatment, we are using this absolute cause, which is the alpha. From it automatically proceeds the effect, which is the omega. Thus, the treatment contains the potential possibility of its own answer. Jesus said, the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. He knew that because he consciously dealt with first cause, there would be no question about the effect. Our lesson says that a lack of realization that there is but one final power has given rise to the belief in many gods. Some of these gods we call evil, lack, want, pain, and death. These false gods must be deserted, for there is but one, which is truth's self. We are told that while we cannot behold the invisible presence with these physical eyes, the divine eye I give unto thee. This has an identical meaning with the sayings of Jesus that spiritual things must be spiritually discerned. I have a spiritual vision within me, which beholds a perfect universe. Daily, this vision guides me to success, happiness, prosperity, physical and mental well-being. My spiritual vision is open. I am awake to the greater possibility. All right. Okay, there's a lot in this one. It's very short, but there's a lot in it. But I think really the most important sentence out of this entire thing is he knew that because he consciously dealt with the first cause, there would be no question about the effect. Consciousness, consciousness, consciousness. I say it. I call it Ernest Holmes' drumbeat. It is what he is constantly working on. He is constantly saying, there's one power. You're made from that power. You have the right to use that power. And if you want to make the most effective use of that power, you have to do it consciously. It doesn't mean you have to know what you're doing, but you have to know what power you're using. No, you have to know what you're doing. You don't have to know what you want. Exactly. You have to know what power you're using, and you need to have an idea of the desired effect. And when I say you don't have to know exactly what you want, because sometimes what we're after is a feeling. And that we can get that feeling in a variety of different ways. And so that's why when you are dealing with practitioners and you don't know what you want, then we're like, well, what do you want to feel? Because if you know what you want to feel, then we can turn that. This is what I want. This is how I want to feel. We can turn that over to Spirit. And then Spirit has this wide open road to bring you ways to feel that way. But you need to know what power you're using. And the fact that you are using it all the time. And you need to know what effect you're after. So, you don't have to know the ins and the outs. Like we say, tell Spirit what you want, and then let Spirit deal with the how. You don't have to know every step of the way. You don't have to have a plan for everything, because that will happen organically as Spirit, brings you what the effect that you are desiring. But you need to know, that you are consciously using one power, the power that you were made from, and you need to know what it is that you're trying to do. What effect you want. Even, like I said, if it's just the feeling. So, that's that. I love that line. I love that line. He knew that because he consciously dealt with the first cause, that there would be no question about the effect. Speak it as if it were already true, and it is. And then, to some degree, we got to get out of our own way and let it happen. So, I have spiritual vision within me which beholds a perfect universe. So the quote from Revelations, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. There's nothing but God. I mean, Revelations, right? If you haven't read it, try it. It's really interesting. So that's Revelations 1:8. The Bhagavad Gita, on the other hand, says, but verily thou art not able to behold me with thine eyes. Divine eyes I give unto thee. And later on, Ernest says, look, yes, we can see God with our physical eyes if we recognize that God is all around us. But the most effective way to see God is to put on those divine glasses. And how do you put on divine glasses? Spiritual practice. So that you start looking at reality with a capital R instead of reality with a lowercase r. Look through those divine eyes because God's granted us those divine eyes. There is but one Brahma, which is truth self. It is from ignorance that the one that the Godheads have been conceived to be diverse. And that is the Mahabharata. So basically that's the Hindu saying, look, there's one God, it's Brahma. All these other little gods are really just part of the one God. You're just separating them out. And you're labeling them. And when we label things, we limit things. And so let me remind you that back of this Godhead that you have created and named is something bigger. And then he has more to say about it later. Which, yeah. Okay, so Spirit is an absolute cause. Spirit as absolute cause is the beginning and the end of everything. Yeah, everything. If we place complete reliance upon this Spirit as beginning, as being the adequate cause, then we may certainly place complete reliance upon it producing the desired effect. If you trust Spirit as the beginning, then trust that Spirit will give you the effect that you are after, if you ask for it. Because when you ask for it, you signal your readiness to accept it. You shouldn't have to ask. Yeah, well, that's the point of asking. It signals your readiness to accept it. You may want it, but you may not be ready to accept it. Once you ask for it, you're ready to accept it. When we give a spiritual mind treatment, we are using this absolute cause, which is the alpha. We are going back to the first power. From it automatically proceeds the effect, which is the omega. Okay. And I like this line too. Thus, the treatment contains the potential probability of its own answer. the seeds of the answers are always in the problems, especially when we stop looking at them as problems and start looking at them as opportunities. Jesus said, quote, "The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, they are life," close quote. And then my favorite line, he knew that because he consciously dealt with first cause, there would be no question about the effect. The words that I speak unto you are spirit. When we go into treatment, when we go into that sacred space, when we use those sacred words, it's because we have said, I am speaking my truth with a capital T, as opposed to the conversations that we have the rest of the time. It's not that they're not important, but we are not in those cases dealing with first cause. Setting aside the space for the spiritual treatment, we are consciously activating first cause. Our lesson says that the lack of the realization... Our lesson says that a lack of the realization that there is but one final power has given rise to the belief in many gods. Okay, so some of these gods we call evil, lack, want, limitation, pain, and death. So some of that is, I would argue, is the misuse. And that's what all of those are. It's the misuse of the first cause. And could it be a deliberate misuse? Absolutely, it could be. And sometimes it's, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're dealing with. And so we misuse that power. And that's exactly what it is. So when we consciously come to the power and use it, then we can, as he goes on to say, these false gods must be deserted, for there is but one, which is truth self. When we recognize them, when we use the first cause consciously, then we desert all of these false gods. We recognize there is enough. And we are enough. We are told that while we cannot behold the invisible presence with these physical eyes, quote, "the divine eyes I give unto thee," close quote. This has an identical meaning with the saying of Jesus that spiritual things must be spiritually discerned. So put on your spiritual glasses. And how do you put on your spiritual glasses? Spiritual practice. That's how. All right. I have a spiritual vision within me which beholds a perfect universe. Daily, this vision guides me to success, happiness, prosperity, physical and mental well-being. So I have a spiritual vision. How do I get a spiritual vision, or how do I keep my spiritual vision? Daily spiritual practice. By knowing who I am, by consciously using first cause, by consciously going to first cause, and to not worry about the everyday little bits of when we cross those false gods and go, well, let it go. Let it go. And then refocus back on first cause. Refocus on your consciousness. My spiritual vision is open, and I am awake to greater possibility. All right. The mission for today, should we choose to accept it? The mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to consciously deal with first cause, to put on our spiritual glasses, to recognize the power that we have and that we use, and to use it consciously, and to desert all of those false gods, and recognize that when we label, we limit. God is beyond what we could grasp. And that's okay. That is okay. Because we don't need to grasp it all. But we do need to consciously come to it. All right, beloveds. It's just something to think about. And that's the thing about going back to the basics, because then we get into those ideas and we go, oh, wait, there's so much more here. So I'm going to encourage you, as I always do, to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever it looks like. Big, small, does not matter. The matter is that you do it every day. That is a spiritual practice. To be loving, to be kind, to be compassionate with yourself is a spiritual practice. Especially since if you can do it for yourself, you can do it for anybody. Because as I've said, it's easier to do that for other people. It's harder to practice on yourself, which is why I suggest it every single day. I want to create the habit. I want to create the default setting. I want to create the first response to be loving, kind, and compassionate. Those are qualities of God. And you deserve them. You deserve to practice them on yourself because you are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased, always and forever. So, I also suggest you engage your mind and your body. Go get a face full of sun. It was nice to see the sun today. It was nice. It was bright. It was warm when the wind wasn't cutting through you. And drink plenty of water. I'm a big believer in hydration. It's fantastic for you. Your brain just works better that way. And then you can deal more appropriately, consciously with first cause. You know, when your brain's firing on all cylinders, and water is a good way to get there. So, whatever else you do, please open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven, right here, right now. It is all around you, right now. So, as Emma says, look for the good and praise it. Because that is the fastest and easiest way to find the good. To look for the good and praise it. And create heaven on earth. So, there was something, and then it popped out of my head. So, have a great day, an amazing day, wondrous day, an enchanting day, a fantastical day, as the words just, I need some new adverbs, adjectives, wondrous words. Have a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. All right, beloveds. The book study has started on Frances Scovel's whoa, her name just popped out of my head. Shin. Frances Scovel Shin. It's the Game of Life and How to Play It, I think is what he's doing on Mondays. And that's a really cool one. So feel free to check that out. Email info@creativelife.org to get that Zoom link. And I will see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. And the Sunday service is up if you missed it. It was a good one. It's a good one. I know we're doing the basics, but Jesse's really bringing it home. Bringing it home. It's good. It's good. All right, beloveds. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Know that you are loved. I'll see you next time.